This is Truth Be Told.
That not only are there reptilians here,
new evidence of UFO fleets.
We were close to nuclear war.
To help you transform so that you can live your highest truth.
We're not being told just because we're not ready for it.
Geostations of frequency, vibrational.
I was a homicide detective with LAPD.
UFOs increase. Visitations. Well, we're ending the Halloween season with a best-selling spiritual author. A lot of times we talk about what's being most haunted in America, which is great, but sometimes we want to know about the haunted world. And today we're going to talk with Teresa Chung about her book, Haunted World, 101 Ghostly Places and Encounters. And then we're going to touch on nightmares. Teresa, a world-renowned dream encoder, and we're going to decide, what are nightmares? Are they just made up stories in our head, or do they have meaning? So we're going to talk about the thin veil between the worlds during the Halloween season and why your dreams might intensify in this time of year. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios for the first time, best-selling author and modern spirituality expert, Teresa Chung. There she is. How are you?
I'm very good. All the better for being here. And of course, I have been here in my dreams.
Right.
Before.
There we go. Well, I hope it was good.
It was. What an introduction. I shall treasure that. I was imprinting it on my memory. It's brilliant. Thank you, Tony.
Well, thank you. And thank you for staying up. I know you're overseas. Yep. Are you in England?
I am in the UK. Mm-hmm. Yes, I live in Windsor, UK. It's about 11 p.m. now, but that's fine. You know, I write about nightmares. It's my time.
Right,
you know?
Right. You're preparing for your nightmares.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again. This is my last show before Halloween, and then so we had to have someone on that not only talk about nightmares but talk about haunted places. Not because and here in America we're narcissistic and we want to talk about American hauntings, but no, I want to talk about other locations and around the world. So I thought we would start with talking about some of your books about the haunted world, and then even you have the element of Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Hauntings. So I always tell people, most of us in this genre, we had an encounter or had an experience or something that put us on this journey or this path of we call the paranormal. So I always say, what was your experience that got you started in this world?
Well, before I was born, probably, because I was born into a family of spiritualists, traveling spiritualists in the UK.
Right.
I was home educated and somehow ended up earning a place at King's College, Cambridge, where I read religion,
right,
studied dreams in great depth. And then when I left Cambridge, I was able to put my academic research and combine it with my personal experience of growing up in a family like that to write book after book after book in this area. And anyone who knows me will know I'm not a serial killer, I'm a serial author. I have done as much as I can to try and mainstream and encourage people to talk about the world that's invisible and unseen, because that's what I grew up in. My family connected to that through dream decoding, through astrology, through mediumship. From the age of 4, I was going to mediumship demonstrations. It felt perfectly natural to me that this is how everybody was. Of course, though, when I went out in the world, I realized
wait
that
a minute.
Everybody...
this ain't normal.
No. But I've come full circle now, because when I went to university, I became very skeptical. You can't go into an academic hothouse like that. And, because I realized that the study of the paranormal was deemed unscientific and frowned on by my professors. So I did go through a very skeptical period thinking, is this imagination? Is this hallucination? And I guess my life has been trying to understand my own upbringing, really, because I was surrounded by people I loved and trusted who had these experiences. I didn't think I did. I learned in time that I had them in different ways. I mean, I couldn't see dead people or angels or this kind of thing, but I have discovered that I saw them and felt them in my way, and that's been the journey of my life. And I think a lot of people are like that. They're really drawn and fascinated by this psychic world we live in, but they don't feel they are psychic. And I'm going to tell them that they are. They just need to understand how spirit speaks to them. And my books are all about exploring that. And I'm still on a journey learning about it. And I've come full cycle now, really, with research showing that paranormal experiences are the norm and not the exception.
Right. And
more people believe in the paranormal, in spirits, in ghosts, in the afterlife, in an invisible world than those who don't. So I am actually speaking to the majority, when all my life I thought I was speaking to a niche minority. I wasn't. That's just the perception. Well, we are in the majority.
Of course. And I think more and more, like you said, in the 21st century, where even when I was born in Kansas in 69, so through 70s, 80s, 90s, talking about this, people would look at you even strange, even though they may believe it themselves. But I guess just because you were speaking in public. But in the last 20 years, we've come a long ways to where people are now going, oh my gosh, I've had an experience, or oh my gosh, I believe in that stuff too. So it's definitely changed as a society as a whole, for sure.
Well, yeah, HarperCollins, actually, one of the books you showed there, the Element Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Hauntings, I wrote that in the early 2000s.
Wow.
And I was very much an invisible author. I mean, they just put the book out, and many of my books out without any promotion, because it was almost like they didn't know, they were embarrassed of it. And then some of my books went, without any promotion at that time, to the Sunday Times top 10. And it was like everybody thinking, why is this happening? And it was still considered embarrassing. But you are so right. In the last 5 years in particular, I have noticed a big shift. And now, actually, when I thought I was going to hang up my keyboard, because I've written 100 books in this area, I've actually found that my services have been more, and my opinion has been more in demand than ever.
Wow.
Because some people interested in this have got a Teresa Chung book lying around somewhere. And especially since the lockdowns and the pandemic, where we all became more contemplative and considered the invisible world, we were, sort of like went inward, really, and we're thinking, what is the meaning of life? And, we don't really understand everything. Since the lockdowns, I have been doing so much mainstream media, national call-ins, for example, on flagship shows here in the UK, where they open up the phone lines and say, have you had a ghostly experience? Teresa's going to talk to you about it. Or have you had a nightmare or a dream? Teresa will decode it. This would never have happened, Tony, 20 years ago when I started, and it's brilliant. I absolutely love it. And even as I come on today, something on my newsfeed came up. The BBC is doing a podcast about near-death experiences.
That's amazing.
They had me doing a podcast as well about dream work. They called it The Night Poet. This is the BBC. It's just bliss.
Oh, I love it. I love to see it.
There's openness to it now that there was never before.
Yeah, I love to see it. And what popped into my head is, because there still are skeptics. And I always say there's healthy skeptics. But what popped into my head is, as a psychic medium, an author, researcher, a spiritual expert, all these things that you do, is it still good to be somewhat skeptical in your own field, as in when you're getting downloads, how do you know that this is a positive or a negative entity, and being skeptical of the messages that you're getting? Because they always say, you need to be open to receiving, but what if that message was not necessarily something that was a positive thing? And how do you keep your being skeptic away from that message?
I mean, what you're asking is, how do you distinguish negative thinking, anxiety, paranoia, from something that is real and true? And I always say, when something is real and true, you'll feel it in your body, first of all. The body is a predictive, just as the brain is in your gut and your heart. You will have a sense that you need to do something. You won't know why. Often it requires you to do something. When it's anxiety and paranoia, you're trapped in your head.
Right.
Like it's like you're going backwards and forwards. Isn't it? Whereas I found when it's a real download from spirit, there's a certainty about it. It's that calm voice, and often it will always, in my opinion, from my research, be in your best interests. It won't drain you or deplete you or pull you down. It will always be empowering in some way. So if the download you get is really sucking the life energy out of you, for me, that is coming from your own anxiety. Now, this is debatable, and I know there are occult experts who would disagree. And I know you've had on your show, you recently had Dr. Richard Gallagher, actually, didn't you?
Yes.
The demon expert. And he was on my podcast recently, actually.
Oh,
and we
wow.
actually had a bit of a disagreement, but it was great. I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I don't believe that something outside of you can take you over unless you allow it, or there's something in you that is connecting to what's already in you. I try in all my books to kind of remove the fear, to say that we shouldn't be frightened of the dark, because you are ultimately in control of your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions. And it's the same if you do encounter with spirit. You know, you are in control of what you allow in and what you hear. And in my personal experience, the living are far more frightening than the dead.
No, that's for sure.
Yeah, I hope I'm making sense here. So what I'm trying to say, the difference is that it will be something that raises you up. It won't deplete you or drain you. If it does, it is not from spirit or a higher realm.
Perfect. Yeah.
And we can talk all about demonic entities and lower energies, etc., but I think they connect to something, some doubt or fear that's within you that you need to face. And that's where dream work is so helpful, because in your dreams you can face all these toxic aspects of yourself, understand them, because what I've found is that when people understand where their fears are coming from, it removes the fear. Most of our toxic and negative behavior just wants to be understood and acknowledged,
right,
and not denied or repressed. And when you start understanding it, it loses its hold over you. It really sort of evaporates. And that's where nightmare work is so powerful. And research has shown that re-scripting nightmares. Sorry, I'm going on to the dream part of it.
Actually, that's okay, and we can actually reverse it, because I do want to go back to the haunted places, because but
Yes.
it actually, might be a good way to go into the dreams, because being Halloween in a few days, in my intro I talked about the thinning of the veil between the two worlds, where more spirits come through. So, as you said before we even got on air, that our nightmares or dreams might be enhanced even more. And so in the dream state, how do we not only protect ourselves? Because I heard somebody the other day is like, oh my gosh, my mother passed away about a month ago, and recently I've been having these tremendous nightmares that are just, with my mother in it, but it's not my mother, and I feel that I don't know how much more I can take, and so I try to calm them down and say, listen, dreams are messages, and some can be intense. So is it our fear that's not allowing us to understand the message in something like what he's going through?
Okay. First of all, I just talk a bit about Halloween.
Yes.
And people do have more vivid dreams around now because of the clock change as well. So you're having a bit more disrupted sleep. So you get woken up in the REM stage, which is when you have most vivid dream recall. So there are biological reasons for it as well, why recall is much more intense and vivid. Also, because we're tuned into the Halloween vibe, and what goes on in your waking reality tends to reflect, in your dreaming world. However, I do want to make the point, and I don't want to burst the Halloween bubble here. My 2004 Element Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Hauntings, which has constantly been reissued and is currently in Barnes & Noble again in their own edition. That's a series of hauntings from all over the world, and I can tell you not one of those famous hauntings happened around Halloween.
Oh, really?
And Haunted World, which is 101 ghost stories from America, features very strongly in that. Of course it does, because there's so many iconic hauntings, but also from Europe, overseas, all over, all areas of the world. Again, not one of them has a famous haunting incident that actually occurred on Halloween. Halloween is something that we have blown out of all proportion, and anyone who's deep into the paranormal world, as you are, will know every day is Halloween.
Right.
Every day can be a haunting, but it's when the whole world, just for 1 or 2 days, is tuned into that Halloween vibe. And we know now from scientific research that what you believe or what you tune into tends to sort of be attracted into your life. And that's why there's so much buzz around it at the moment. It is totally artificial. There's not one specific day where you're more likely to encounter a ghost. You only are more likely to think about ghosts, and what you think is what you attract.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if you start thinking about ghosts in the summer, on a summer's day, you're just as likely to attract them as you are right now. But anyway, to go into dreams about, you're saying the afterlife dreams, there's a great deal of research into afterlife dreams. And the first thing I want to say, if you are dreaming about departed loved ones, even if that dream is terrifying, in over 90% of cases, people who have afterlife dreams do better process their grief. They're very, very healing and helpful. It's a way for you at a deep unconscious level, because dreams are messages from the deep, to quote Dune, to process it and to go through all the stages of grief at a deep unconscious level. So when you wake up, some of the work's been done. Dreams are your inner therapist and trying to help you. And when they send you nightmares of a departed loved one, as was the case with your friend, and I'm so sorry about their loss and this horrific experience that they're having, but I want them to completely have a mind shift now about it, a total new perspective. Nightmares are transformative gifts every single time. They are screaming to you to evolve in some way, to change your approach to something. When you have a nightmare, the dreaming mind has resorted to it because it had probably been sending you more gentle dream images before, but you've not paid attention or you've not recalled them. So it basically almost says like, right, I'm going to send a real shocker, because I know when they wake up in the morning, they are going to remember it and they're going to think about me, because that's all your dreaming mind wants. It wants your attention. So sometimes it has to resort to shocking images to get that attention that it wants, because it knows darn well you're going to reflect on the meaning. And the meaning here of the departed mother appearing in all sorts of horrific disguises is the grief journey, and also the individual processing their relationship with this person, that maybe there were aspects of that relationship which were untidy, where they felt that there wasn't resolution. And the dreaming mind is in its symbolic way showcasing that to the individual, and that what they need to do now is to spend time reflecting on that nightmare and think how they can rescript it so that the monsters transform into butterflies. But first of all, talk to the monster and say, what do you want to tell me? Every symbol in a dream has a message, and I always compare it to reading a poem. If you people love or hate poetry, but if you've ever analyzed a poem, which you probably did at school, your literature teacher would have said, go through it word by word and look for the puns, the metaphors, the symbols, the pathetic fallacy, alliteration, assonance. And that's what it is in a dream. It's a night poem. It's expressing your emotions in an artistic, poetic way. And you need to write it down or draw it and critique it as if it was a poem. Go and read something like Kubla Khan, the greatest vision in a dream ever written. Doesn't make sense, does it? No. But you will find all these wonderful meanings, personal meanings, and that's what you've got to do. And I would say to anyone who's had a dream that they don't understand, write it down and look at it as a work of art, modern art, if you like, that you've got to decode. Think symbolically, look beneath the surface. Dreams are not literal. In 99.9% of cases, dreams are not literal, they are symbolic. This is all symbolism, and it's dramatizing the incredible story of your inner landscape, the incredible story of you. And don't get hung up on one specific dream as well, everybody listening, because dreams are like a Netflix TV series you love. You've got to tune in night after night for the next thrilling installment, because dreams will comment on each other. And when I start working with people on their dreams, I don't actually encourage them to start decoding them until they've gathered at least or harvested at least 30 dreams. Because then they will see the themes and they will see the continuing narrative. And then they will begin to understand how their dreams are like a poetic voiceover, narrating and commenting and brainstorming on their waking life and trying to offer them hints, problem solving, creativity, and inspiration for their personal growth. And nightmares, as I said, because they are so extraordinarily vivid, they are actually brilliant treasures, because nightmares are so rich in powerful symbolism. And when we all love our really like scary stories, like from Frankenstein, which again, Mary Shelley dreamt that plot. It was right. A vision in a dream, So just fall in love with your nightmares. I know this sounds very, very bizarre and weird, right. But hey, I've devoted my life to writing about that. Fall in love with your nightmares and think, my dreaming mind loves me so much, it has resorted to tough love and sent me this incredible gothic horror story, to decode. Right. And if you're a writer or an artist or a creator, social media influencer or whatever, and you're feeling a bit stuck or blocked creatively, write down your last dream. It will speak to the part of your brain that is infinitely creative. It will unblock something. Just write down your last dream. Everyone, actually, whether you're an artist or not, write down your last dream and then reflect on it. Go for a walk and just go for all the meanings beneath the surface. And apply them to your waking life. I have gone on a bit. Sorry, I go. No,
it's great. It's great. And what I'm taking away from this is, being fearful of a nightmare. I'm very scared of snakes, and I mean that's for some reason that I'm not scared of spiders or any of that other bugs, but snakes I'm just doesn't work for me. And so I remember,
because snakes are the most common dream reported at the moment, because dream experts.
Oh, really?
Gather top 10 dreams, and at the moment it's dream babies, losing teeth or hair, and snakes are coming up as the top 3. So that's really, really interesting. But your dreaming mind will then use that snake because it knows it's going to speak to you. It's a symbol of fear for you. But the classic Jungian interpretation of a snake dream, snakes are transformation because they shed old skins. So what you're kind of that dream saying is, don't fear letting go of things that no longer work for you. Stop clinging on to things that don't longer work. Get rid of that old skin and be reborn. Because if you don't let go of old mindsets, old behaviors, maybe relationship situations, how can you let anything new in?
Yeah, I agree. And
there's no space for it.
And I think even in real life, one thing, I went hiking not too long ago, and a lot of times when I start thinking about, oh my God, I wonder, I hope I don't see a snake today, or I start thinking about it, the whole way I'm hiking, I'm so focused on, am I going to see a snake? I don't enjoy the actual hike. But when I went to Brazil last year, we went through the Amazon. I mean, they have anacondas and all these other things. And so I didn't think about it at all. I was having such a great time. And afterwards, I thought, how amazing it was to not be fearful of just going into the forest, the jungle, not even worrying about anything, but just taking everything in. But then I get back here and I go for a hike and I'm so scared, like I can't really enjoy.
But fear's a choice.
Right.
Fear
That's
is
what
a
I'm saying.
choice, just like anything in our life. It's for some
Right.
reason you're choosing that.
Right.
And it's maybe sort of like to protect yourself and to stop you taking that next leap of faith in your life that you need to.
Right.
It's all protection. But when you understand, I'm choosing this, why am I choosing this?
Right.
And dreams will reflect, all your dreams will dreams, like a inner therapist, will constantly make you ask questions of yourself. Because if you've ever been in therapy, that's what the therapist does, is how does that make you feel?
Right.
You know, it's all like you comment on you. And that's what your dreaming mind is doing. It's asking you why are you choosing this when you can choose different? And you've proven to yourself in the past that you don't have to choose fear. Why, when you're back in your routine, in everything that you know, the predictable, why? Maybe it's because you want that adrenaline. I don't know. I'm trying to think, because
Maybe.
when you were on your trek, everything was unpredictable.
Yeah.
You weren't in your settled, comfortable routine. You felt alive.
Yeah.
So maybe you're bringing that fear because you actually want to feel alive.
Maybe.
Because fear, if feeling things makes us feel alert. Fear is a basic primal instinct that can save lives. So maybe your life is too settled and ordered. Maybe
possibly
you research the paranormal, and maybe you're getting to a point, well, I know what this person's going to say before they interview them.
Right.
Getting to that, and I've had that many times. When you work for decades in a certain area, you start longing for something new, and that's what the snake dream's all about. How can I present this in a way that actually says something that I haven't heard before?
That's a way to look at it, and I think I'm gonna investigate that more. And that also brings me up another point: is it almost reminds me, dreams are almost to me like a past life. You come back over and over if you don't learn your lessons. Dreams are kind of like the same thing. If you're not learning your lessons, we're going to keep coming back in your dream, and it could, because we've heard people say, I keep having the same dream over and over and over. Is that right? That past life and dreams are very similar?
If you learn the message of that dream and you understand what the dream's trying to tell you, you won't have that dream again. You'll have other recurring dreams, because I think the reason we're on this earth is to learn and grow.
Right.
And we constantly need lessons and things to learn and grow in our waking lives. But yeah, if you keep having the same recurring dream, you're not understanding the lesson, and your dreaming mind will resort to ever more creative ways to try and say the same thing to you until you get it.
Yeah.
And also, don't go into your dream work, everyone listening, expecting to be reassured and told what you already know. As I say, a dream correctly decoded will tell you something you don't already know about yourself. Right? Something that you are not aware of. Your dreaming mind is not actually that interested in reassuring you, you're this person, you've done that. It's bored with that. It always wants to tell you something new that you don't know. It surprises you. And when you correctly decode a dream, you will get that eureka, aha moment of illumination. That's how you know that it's a correct interpretation.
And how they present, because many times, like my mother passed away. In fact, October 30th, in just 3 days, was when my mother passed away 5 years ago. And I personally don't remember a dream about my mother. I'm not necessarily disappointed with that, because I feel she comes in different waves. But when we see loved ones, is that an actual spirit of our loved ones, or is it just kind of a leftover energy? Well, I guess that's almost the same spirit. But how are they actually coming into our dreams?
Well, yeah, I mean, people who long for a connection in spirit to their departed loved ones and say, they don't ever reach me. And I say, have you dreamt of them? And they say, well, yeah. And yes, that is an afterlife connection. Right. It's often the very first gentle way that spirit will try and reassure us that life, the heart, that the consciousness of that person has gone on somewhere, somehow. And the reason they do it in the dream state is it's safe. and it won't alarm. And as I said, these dreams can be incredibly reassuring, and they are afterlife signs, in my humble opinion. And I have researched these in depth. And the reason I say that is with these dreams, as afterlife dreams have a different feel to the more symbolic dreams, which tend to be fragments,
Right.
like fragments in a dream. Afterlife dreams tend to often have a clear beginning, middle, and end. They're vivid and they're realistic. And often the departed loved ones will have a conversation with you that is so like them. And sometimes they will even share new information or say things that it's like, how did they know that? And you wake up just having a reassurance that death ends a life, not a relationship.
Right.
Absolutely beautiful experience. But if you're not having it, don't despair either. Spirits, they know more than we do. And they think, well,
Right.
You don't actually need an afterlife dream because I'm still alive in your heart.
Yeah.
I don't need to do this. And also we need to understand in spirit, from all the research I've done talking to mediums and people who connect to the other side, that's what they do with their lives. They're busy on the other side. They've got things to do.
They got shopping and all kinds of
they're learning. I believe it's all about learning, and I believe in reincarnation and choosing whether to return again,
Right.
and assessing, reviewing. It's like life is a school, Earth is a school, and we incarnate on Earth to learn specific lessons we can't learn in spirit. And I believe that lesson is to return to spirit and to understand we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Because if you're in spirit, how can you learn that?
Right.
You have to learn it on this earth, and to also understand that nothing external that happens to you through other people, through situations, can ever define you. The only person that can define you is your own thoughts, feelings, consciousness. It's all about the return to self. And I think that's the journey of all our lives, because especially when we're younger, we think that it's outside in, isn't it? The outside world defines us.
Right.
We're like reeds blown in the wind. And I think as you get older and you begin to mature, you actually realize that's quite an empty, blank way to live, because you have no control, and it's all about the inside out approach.
Wow.
That's true liberation. And I think that's the journey of our lives, to learn that. And when you do learn that, it's blissful, because nothing phases you anymore. Well, it still does, because you're still human and you still have emotions, but you are able to deal with it and rise above and be objective and see the bigger picture.
I said I didn't have a dream about my mother since she's passed away. That's not necessarily true. And I want to ask you about this because very shortly after my mother passed away, probably a week, she was a freshly new spirit on the other side. I had fallen asleep, and my mother and I were very close. My spouse comes over and wakes me up, and I was like, what's going on? And it was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, why? And well, you were talking to your mother. And I said, what? Yeah, you were like having a conversation with your mother. Why can we be in such either a deep grief or a deep sleep to not necessarily remember every conversation that we have with them? What is that level of sleep?
Well, that's a really deep, going to the deep unconscious layers where the work is being done on your behalf, the healing and the connection. There's some cultures that believe actually the dream state is the reality and our waking state is the dream.
Right.
So who is to tell? I mean, I don't know all the answers. I have devoted my life to researching it. And I couldn't have made any other choice with my life, because I can't think of anything more fascinating than, the mystery of our existence. But the dream state, I believe, offers a very powerful clue to the world of spirit and why we're here, the meaning of our life. Because if you think about it, science doesn't really know why we dream. What is going on? I mean, there's the old school idea that it's all about a computer offloading and filing and memory consolidation. Right. But then why these incredible stories and scenarios? Plots of movies, of novels, great works of art and
Songs.
literature have
Yeah.
been composed in a dream,
Yeah.
innovations, and everything. And it's a remarkable state when we are unconscious. And it's such a shame that so many people don't take advantage of that or explore it and just wake up and live so externally and don't pay attention to this inner world where they go every night in their dreams. It's such a waste. It's such a waste, because I believe the most valuable work is being done then. The most exciting adventure is your life is not outer space, walking on the moon.
Right.
It's inner space,
Yeah.
into your soul, into your heart. That is the most thrilling adventure of all. And I mean, I truly believe that if you start remembering your dreams more regularly, writing them down, brainstorming them, falling in love with them, what you're actually doing is falling in love with yourself. And a lot of us struggle with self-love throughout our lives. Dream work is a way to fall in love with yourself. And dream work is also a way to influence your unconscious beliefs. Once you understand what's going on in your unconscious, you understand why you behave in a certain way in your waking life, why you think a certain way. And if you are into the manifesting trend now, which has taken over the world, what you believe about yourself is what you attract. But the trouble is, maybe you've done manifesting and you've done all your affirmations and it's still not working. Well, that's probably because at a deep unconscious level, you don't actually believe in yourself. But if you in the dream state, you'll find out about that and you can correct it. I think dream work is the most neglected manifesting tool out there, because you can actually influence your dreams. When you get familiar with your dreams, you can actually start incubating a dream, influencing it. And, you know, I believe happy dreams, happy life. If you dream of what you want happening, you are so close to manifesting it, because at a deep unconscious level, you believe it's possible.
So what's the difference between daydreaming and, you know, just sleep, REM sleep dreaming? Because in some ways it's very similar. We're still having those images.
It's just another way to dream, Tony. Daydreaming is just another way to dream.
So no one's better than the other.
Well, in the deep unconscious state, what is better with the dream state is that the only thing missing in the dream state is logic and reason, because your conscious mind is asleep.
Right.
Your body's asleep. So without logic and reason hampering those leaps of faith and those brainstorming connections, you can actually make incredible advances. In the daydreaming state, you're still sort of semi-conscious. And whenever you're like that, the material world comes in, you've got reason and logic bringing in, this doesn't make sense. No, that's nonsense. How can you believe that about yourself? That will never happen to you. All these things, which we actually need in our waking life for our personal safety, you know, because you can't do all the things you do in a dream. You know, and I believe true happiness is balancing your logic and reason with your intuition and your creativity. In the dream state, you're pure creativity and intuition. When you daydream, there's more of the imposition of logic and reason, which will maybe put a damper on things a bit and stop those wild brainstorming connections that are possible in the dream state. But however, if you're struggling with dream recall, that's a great way actually to activate the part of your dream, part of your brain that the dreaming part of your brain, and encourage it to, you know, have clearer recall in the morning. Because if you are struggling with dream recall, it's simply because you've forgotten how to do it, and you need to relearn it. Because when you were a child, you probably had no problem recalling your dreams.
Right.
And it's going back to that natural state when dreaming is just something wildly exciting that you wake up with, you know, on your mind every morning. And doing a bit of daydreaming is a great way to reassure your brain that you haven't forgotten how to dream.
I love that. I love that. And I did a past life regression several years ago, because I always said, you know, I'm ADD. There's no way I could ever get a past life regression. She did. She did a great job, and And it proved to me that, again, that doubt of, because I have ADD, I won't be able to succeed in that. It actually changed my mind on that. But through dreams, we talked about how past lives and dreaming is very similar. How can you use dreams to tap into your past life?
Well, you could, first of all, ADHD, again, perspective shift. I had a wonderful post. This is great. I love these signs on my social media today. Today was ADHD, and the person was saying, always determined, happy, and driven, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That actually, there's so many positives of it. But how can you incubate? It's basically incubating it when you go to sleep at night,
Mm-hmm.
telling yourself in that very, very receptive stage, when you're just about to drift off to sleep, the brain is super susceptible then to suggestion,
Right.
To say, I want to connect to who I was before this life. Show me. And keep doing that. And more often than not, your dream will start delivering. But if it doesn't, in your waking life, think about what eras in history you're drawn to. That's often for a reason. There's often a time period, be it the medieval period or the Tudors or Elizabethan, I'm talking Brit history here, but there's always a time period that you're more drawn to, and that's for a reason. Research that, seep yourself in that history, and see what resonates. If there's something that you'll feel pulled towards, trust your gut, trust your intuition. And don't always think it's going to be obvious that someone else is going to tell you. I'm very much about empowering people to be their own shaman, their own teacher, their own past life regressor, their own medium, their own psychic. I think we get too dependent on other people, and that's always a bit dangerous, because other people will always bring their own, however gifted they are psychically, they will always bring their own baggage and their own expectations onto you.
Yeah.
And you want to free yourself from that. And research shows that being psychic, being mediumistic is in our DNA. We all have it. What we don't have, though, the only difference between a psychic, someone who says they're psychic, and someone who says they're not, is belief. The psychic believes that they are. And what you believe is what you manifest. I don't think there's any difference between self-confidence and being psychic. They're exactly the same. The greatest psychics are often very, very confident in their gut instincts. They express them. Most of us don't. We doubt them. And it's that doubt that shuts it down. So I think the journey to being psychic, mediumistic, is exactly the same as the journey of building your self-esteem and your self-confidence and your self-love. Work on those three first. A lot of people just want to get to the psychic bit.
Right.
They don't realize that there's a ladder. You've got to do self-care first, self-love, self-confidence, the ability to assert yourself, the ability to trust yourself. Work on that. Psychic ability will come natural. And if you're a very logical person and you think, I'm skeptical, I'm logic, this is never going to happen to me, I'm telling you, research shows that when people who say they've never had a psychic experience go on a simple course of meditation for 3 weeks, the psychic awakening happens, the intuitions come in. And when they do, they actually get clearer intuitive and psychic hits than people who say they're psychic. And I'll tell you why, because people who are logical are able to cut out the nonsense.
Right.
Whereas people who are very psychic, what happens to them is they're so open, they're so boundaryless, that they get so many bombarding, conflicting messages in, they don't often know what's true and what isn't. So people who are lower down the scale of sensitivity, they actually can make stronger, clearer psychics than people who are high up, highly sensitive. It's absolutely fascinating. The people who are highly sensitive, their challenge is what's real, what isn't, because I've gotten so many messages. The people lower down the scale, their challenge is awakening their psychic ability in the first place. Meditation can do that. It activates the part of the brain associated with psychic abilities. But when they do, they get clearer, they become clearer channels, clearer connectors, because they've got that logic helping them. It's fascinating. It really is. Meditation,
It is fascinating.
Again, is the key to it all.
Well, we have just oh God, this hour is going so fast. But so you're talking about what you're drawn to. So next year, next April, we're going over to Europe and going to Paris, Prague, Vienna, and Budapest. And so I'm always been drawn to castles. Pyramids, great. I love anything ancient, but for some reason, castles I'm so attached to. I just find them fascinating. I find an energy.
You've been there before in another life. You've been there before because you think, why castles?
Right. That's why I'm like it.
Farms? Why not? Forests. Why?
Yeah.
There is always a why. You've been there before in a former life in some way, because I do believe that our consciousness, can leave our body and live on and choose to incarnate again and again. That is a personal belief. But, near-death experience studies prove that consciousness can survive bodily death by a few minutes. It's very exciting. There's so much afterlife research going on now, afterlife science, afterlife communication, that is really promising. And anyone who has lost a loved one actually will know that that person hasn't gone. They're still in their heart and in their mind and around them. You can feel them. Mm-hmm. That connection is still strong. And I believe you're drawn to castles because you've lived there. But were you a servant or were you a king? That's what you've got to find out.
Well, we always want to be the king, but we never we never want to admit that we may have been the joker or something.
Or stoned to death or something.
Right, or stoned to death. But going into these castles, in fact, one of the places I want to go in Budapest is where Vlad the Impaler was.
Vampires.
He was imprisoned for 14 years. So what should I, going into not only to protect myself from spirit, but also in the dream state to maybe ask questions or protect myself in my dreams to go into some of these, I'm sure, haunted places that have been there for thousands of years, or at least 1,000 years?
I believe that whenever traumatic events happen, it releases emotions, and emotions kind of get trapped. They may be trapped in the water or in the buildings. It's residual hauntings, isn't it? Which is a category of hauntings where people believe actually it's not really a haunting. What you're seeing is a kind of a replay. There is debate actually in the paranormal circles, isn't it? Where residual hauntings, are they actually hauntings, or just a replay of something that's happened that you're. But either way, I think either way is fascinating.
Right.
If it is, whether it is or not, it's utterly fascinating. To protect yourself, just remind yourself you have choice about what you let in. With a vampire as well, is the classic myth about that. Vampires can only be invited in to your door.
Yeah.
You don't have to open the door. And even when you open that door, you still have control. Nothing can overtake you, destroy you, suck the life force out of you, unless you allow it to do it to. Unless you lack the self-belief that you are strong enough, that you are in charge of your destiny. As I say, protecting yourself is no different from self-confidence. And it's the same with spiritual and psychic energies. And I know there will be people disagreeing with me there, thinking there are demonic entities out there.
Right.
But even if there are, you don't have to let them in. You don't have to let them in.
Right.
Let the right one in.
Right.
To quote that movie.
That's right.
Self-confidence, believe in yourself, and just experience the drama. Oh my goodness, I wish I was going on a tour like that. It would be so magical.
I can't wait.
Castles are just heaven. I know they really are, especially for paranormal experts. The history, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can feel it, because it's iconic. And I'm very lucky. I live close by Windsor Castle, so I walk past it every day.
When you said Windsor, I'm like, oh, she must be close.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm very fortunate in the UK. We have so many castles. And
Well, we're
there's
flying into London and then we'll take the train over to Paris and all that stuff. So I'm excited about it.
The catacombs as well, and the Chateau de Briziac in France, the Green Lady with her gaping eyes and mouth, and
I can't wait.
So much.
Yeah, churches and castles. Churches and castles are my favorite. So big cathedrals. So but
emotions trapped there that you're drawing in the energy and tasting the history. It's fascinating, but nothing. The thing is, though, we humans, we like to be scared. It's entertaining, and if your life's got in a bit of a rut, sometimes we like that thrill because it reminds us we're alive.
Yeah, that's true.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of fear.
That's why we go to haunted houses over here.
Yes, don't fear the fear. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I love it.
It's like a roller coaster going on a haunting, isn't it? Because you've got to have the lows to have the highs, and you enjoy a roller coaster, but it's scary.
Yeah, love it. Well, before we get out here, can you give us one thing for people? I know Halloween's coming up, and like you said, every day is Halloween for people in the paranormal world. What do people need to do? Keep a pen and paper, put water next to your bed. I mean, what are some things to help you dream or remember your dreams more? And what can we do?
Well, listening to this interview should trigger dreams, because what you reflect on or where your attention goes in the day shows up in the dreaming state. So think about the possibility of dreaming. Just think, well, maybe this odd lady from the UK has got a point. Maybe my dreams are trying to help me and say something. Give it a try. And immediately when you wake up, don't leap out of bed straight away, because that's the enemy of dream recall. You need to keep still for at least 1 or 2 minutes. Preferably wake up naturally without an alarm clock too, because alarm clocks are not only bad news for your body, they shock you awake too violently, equivalent to a heart attack. Or in some cases, just be careful with alarm clock use. It's not good for your system. It's also not good for dream recall and connecting to your unconscious. So just when you wake up, hopefully naturally, stay still for a few moments with your eyes closed so you mirror the dream state, and just let the memories surface, the creativity, words, noises, sensations, whatever it is. And then however balmy it is, it won't make sense. Don't try to make it make sense. The whole point of a dream is it shouldn't make sense, because the more bizarre it is, the more profound the meaning, like art, And just write it down or draw it as soon as those memories come, because you will forget otherwise. And then go about your day. And then later in the day, do some brainstorming, your personal associations first. But then if nothing comes, that's like, I've written many dream dictionaries. Then you can go for the universal and common ones and see if they apply, and wait for that moment of clarity, that eureka moment. And it will come. But if it doesn't, you can always dream another dream. That's the wonder of dreams. They're infinite.
I love it.
Just dream another dream. Just carry on.
Isn't that a song?
Carry on dreaming.
Dream for me. Well, we appreciate you, and I can't wait to have you back. I know we have so much more. We could talk more about the hauntings. But for anybody that wants to, there's tons of books that Teresa has written. These are just a few. Haunted World.
This one isn't out till 2024, actually.
This one here?
It's going to be illustrated. It's beautiful. I mean, I'm really, really thrilled. The publisher's going to town on it. It's beautiful. 101 ghostly places. There's a lot from the States in there, a lot from the UK. But
will you come back for that one?
I'd love to. Yes, I have written too many books.
Never too many, but there's another one, the Element Encyclopedia of Ghost and Hauntings, and then the Dream Dictionary from A to, we say Z, but you say Z, but that...
Sleep. I like, it should be A to Z, actually, because Z is sleep, isn't it?
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Teresa. Where can people find you and figure out where you're going to be speaking at, or...
I'm basically, my website is www.teresachung.com, and you've kindly put that up there. I'm on Instagram. I have an author page on Facebook as well, and X. And I love people to do get in touch. And I spend a lot of my time these days, actually, because I leave my email in my address. People write to me about their dreams they're struggling to understand. Feel free to do that. Sometimes it takes me a while to get back to you, but I try to get back to everyone in due course. Sometimes it takes a while, but I do. And to give you some pointers, if you're really had that dream and what did that mean, don't hesitate to let me know. And totally private. But that's the wonderful thing about dreams. It's anything's possible. You can say anything, because after all, it's just a dream. Or is it?
Just a dream. Or is it? Let's leave it like that. I love a little mystery to leave them with. So thank you, Teresa, so much. And please support her. Go to her website, teresachung.com, and get her books. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on the show and celebrating Halloween, the last show of Halloween season for me.
Happy Halloween. And thank you for all you are and do, Tony. I really appreciate you too. Thank you.
You got it. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the chat room, for being a viewer and a subscriber of my YouTube channel and all the podcasts, everything. We're getting close to probably 800-900 shows now. I don't remember. I've lost count. But we appreciate you for supporting us every week. Monday with Minutemen Report with Robert Hensley. Wednesday with Bonnie Burker doing Truth Be Told Transformation. Of course, Truth Be Told Paranormal with me every Friday at 3 o'clock. And being part of the Club Paranormal team. And we really appreciate you for tuning in every Friday. But until next time, I'll see you next Friday right here on Truth Be Told. Have a good one. Bye. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for watching. Recorded live at UBN Go Studios in Burbank, California. Join us on social media. Facebook, Truth Be Told Radio. Instagram, Truth Be Told Paranormal. Go to Truth Be Told Worldwide for more information on upcoming shows.